Hello everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. Today we are tasting this avocado. This is called Marcus Pumpkin, and we are first going to visit Alex, and he's going to tell us all about this tree when we were at his farm in Tropical Acres Farms, and he has so much great information about avocados and mangoes and sapodillas. That's what he grows there. I'll put his website link below the video in the description. This is Marcus Pumpkin Avocado. Have you ever tried this one? Well, we're going to learn about it right now. So here goes Alex.
This is Alex. We're at Tropical Acres Farms. They specialize in mangoes, but they also have a bunch of avocados. So we're in front of this tree here, and I think I know what this tree is, but we'll let Alex explain it. And this is not a big tree. And hello, Alex.
Hi.
So what tree is this, and what do you want to tell us about it?
Okay, this is a Marcus Pumpkin Avocado.
Yep.
This is an old Florida avocado variety. It's been around for quite a long time, probably at least 70 years or more. And I'm not even sure the backstory on it in terms of who it was named after. I can tell you that within the Florida nursery trade, sometimes it's been propagated under the name Marcus or even just Pumpkin, either one, rather than the full name Marcus Pumpkin. But I can't tell you exactly who is responsible for introducing this avocado to the world. But at any rate, this is an old-time Florida variety. It is a fairly aggressive tree, and that's not uncommon for fruit trees that make very large fruit. They usually produce pretty large canopies. But we've been successful actually at keeping this tree at a manageable size. Now, this tree was planted in the summer of 2014, I believe as a 3-gallon tree. Would have been a 3-gallon back then. This avocado has a reputation for getting very large. I've seen Marcus pumpkin fruit that have exceeded 3 pounds in weight. So one of the largest of the Florida avocado varieties. And as far as its background, I believe it's probably a West Indian Guatemalan hybrid. It is considered from literature hardy into the 20s Fahrenheit. Probably not like as hardy as, for example, like a Brogdon or a Mexicola, one of those pure Mexican types. But it is, it's more cold hardy than like a pure West Indian avocado from what we've read. The fruit are capable of getting much larger than this. So this one, probably weighs over a pound. But the tree actually produced quite a bit of fruit this year, and I've already picked a number of them. So this isn't necessarily representative of what it had. But because we had so much fruit on a number of our avocado trees this year, we actually had a pretty good avocado crop. A lot of the fruit came out undersized. But in the case of the Marcus Pumpkin, because it starts out as a fairly large avocado, the undersized Marcus Pumpkins are actually almost perfect sized. Because a full-size Marcus Pumpkin is difficult for a lot of people to eat, at least on their own in one sitting. Now, there's exceptions. There's people that can eat a lot of avocado at once. But to me, this is more like perfect size for an avocado. It does produce a fairly large seed, which actually makes it actually decent for using as rootstock. In the nursery trade, when we use avocados for rootstock, we want something actually with a larger seed that produces usually a more vigorous shoot compared to avocados that make kind of smaller seeds. And as far as like the eating quality is concerned, to me this is a fairly mild avocado. Now there are people who are fans of this. To me it has more of a prototypical West Indian type flavor. It is a low oil avocado. So this is not like a great avocado for making guacamole with. It's more of the type of avocado that you might add condiments to, just slicing and using in a salad or something like that. But it does have its fans for sure, and it can be a pretty productive tree. It's not really grown commercially though, like down in the Redland where they grow avocados on considerable more scale. It is more of a backyard avocado and kind of a conversation piece because of the massive size that the fruit can obtain. So definitely one of the largest avocados, amongst the Florida types.
All right, I have several questions now. First question does it get the name pumpkin because it's round or because it's big?
Good question. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask whoever named it that, but I mean, it certainly does resemble a pumpkin, especially when it's like full size. These 3+ pound ones look like small pumpkins hanging from the tree. Of course, they're green. They don't turn orange, but it's an appropriate name based on the shape and the size of the fruit. And like I said, these aren't necessarily representative of how big they can get. They can get a lot bigger.
Sure. So what do you do with this tree? Do you use it for fruit stock, rootstock? Is that the main
Yeah,
reason you
we
have
do. We use this for rootstock a lot. We kind of favor Lula for rootstock because it makes a terrific rootstock. A lot of nurseries in Florida that graft avocados use Lula and a few others. But this actually does make pretty good rootstock too. So I don't sell too many. In fact, this year we're selling basically 0 avocados. We've given some away to people, but because we need rootstock so bad to replenish our supply of avocado trees and to keep up with orders for grafted avocado trees, we're using a lot of these for seed. So, you know, we're eating them, or our employees are eating them, or friends and family are eating them, and then we keep the seeds. So hopefully in future years we'll have enough avocado fruit and not be so deficient in rootstock that we'll be able to sell them to the general public again.
From a tasting standpoint, what avocados would you compare it to?
I would probably compare Marcus Pumpkin to avocados like Miguel and what else? I guess I would compare it to, you mentioned Hall earlier. It's a little similar to that, I guess. It is a mild avocado to me. I would say the oil content, without measuring it, is in the single digits, almost certainly. It can taste better than like some of the really mild West Indian types. So like better than like a Donny or something like that, for sure. But it's not, to me, I like, in terms of the winter avocados, and this would qualify because its season is like November into December. Some people pick it a little earlier than that, but I don't. I like to wait until November to pick my Marcus Pumpkins. I like Monroe certainly a little better, and I definitely like Choquette better than Marcus Pumpkin, but there's plenty of people that like this avocado. My friend Cecil Brumfield grows it also, and he's a fan of it. He likes it. So, you know, it can be a good backyard tree. Just realize that it gets pretty big without pruning, and if you overfeed it, it could turn into a very, very large.
So how big is this tree here, would you say?
This tree can't be much more than 10 feet tall.
And
It's kind of optimal. We're
do you
not going to
prune
let
it
it get.
after you take
Yeah,
the
we've pruned it,
avocados off?
and it is a little bit in the shade of this Edward tree next to it, which kind of limits its growth somewhat. But we've cut it before, and I would highly recommend pruning your avocado trees to keep them at a reasonable size, especially in the kind of spacing that we have here. Without pruning, it wouldn't be possible to get away with the spacing because they'll just grow into one another, and then they're not going to be as productive.
And how far did you plant them in your
Yeah,
spacing?
these trees are 16 feet apart from one another, 20 feet between the rows, and that 20 feet is just to fit equipment between
So
them.
16 feet
So
pretty
we wouldn't necessarily, if this was a backyard situation, we could certainly go tighter between the rows. But the spacing between the trees is only 16 feet.
And when you planted this in 2004, what year did you first start getting fruit on it?
We planted it in 2014.
2014.
Yeah, 2014. It was summer of 2014. I don't remember what the first year we got fruit from this tree. I know it took a little longer than some of the other grafted avocados we planted. And I would say that the first few crops were not impressive in terms of the volume of fruit, but now it's a better producing tree with age.
Well, I see a lot of your trees are this size. This is actually a little bigger than many of your trees here for avocados. Can somebody with their own yard, if they have a tree like this, reasonably, if they prune it each year, keep it at this size, and it'll still get at least enough avocados for them to enjoy it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not. As long as you're not overfeeding, overwatering the tree. You know, in soils that are richer than what we have here, and we do have pretty sandy soil here, and our avocados, we do feed organic matter too. So we do mulch these, and we'll put, fruit waste and stuff like that underneath them to help make the soil a little less pure sand around them, because they don't love the sand as much as the mangoes do. But if you're feeding an avocado a lot of nitrogen, and if you're in especially if you're in a muckier type of soil, a tree like this can get really big in a short period of time. So I would suggest if you're somebody that's trying to get away with small spacing between your trees, you can probably keep your avocados in a range of, let's say, 10 to 12 feet, most of them, and they'll still be able to fruit. As long as you're pruning them at the right time and not pruning them like right when they're flowering. So this tree is going to flower again, hopefully, come springtime. Is typically when these flower, maybe like between March and April. So you don't want to be cutting your avocado tree that time when you're expecting it to flower. Fruit production, though, does help limit the size of the trees because it does take some of the energy away from vegetative growth that's going to cause it to get massive without the pruning. So
The best time to trim it would be right after you pick the fruit?
yeah,
Yes.
once we get the fruit off of this, which is going to be pretty soon actually, we'll probably cut it back a little bit, and just to help keep its size under control without cutting it back too drastically. And then if we do that, it's going to flush a lot of vegetation, probably at the expense of flowering in the spring.
Now,
But late season avocados, you want to get them pruned like as soon as you get that last fruit off of it. And all this fruit is mature enough to pick right now. Avocados have like a maturity range, so it's like, between these dates and these dates that the fruit's going to be ready to pick. It's a little tricky to look at the fruit and know that it's ready to pick, but we could pick all of this now. And if we were in a more like a large commercial orchard, these probably would all be off the tree by now, and the tree would already be pruned. But that gives it time to shoot back and be ready to fruit the following year and be healthy. And pruning in soil because we're in soil that's not as nutrient dense as some of the other people growing avocados, I feel like the pruning does help recharge their batteries a bit, and avoid some of the dieback issues that can happen if they're deficient in certain nutrients, which is common.
So the parts of the tree, like I know we just almost had a hurricane, could you, in fact, if you cut the tree while there's fruit on it and you cut the branches that don't have fruit on it, will it affect it in any way?
No, it shouldn't affect the fruit. Well, I take that back. If you cut way too much off, it can affect the fruit. But like if you're just cutting it a little bit, no, the fruit should be fine. And once you get the rest of the fruit off, the tree should respond with a nice growth flush.
What type of avocado is it, A or B?
Ooh, good question. I should remember that, and I don't remember whether it's an A or B type. Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay.
Some of them I know off the top of my head, and
so here's another question.
Like this tree's a B.
Okay, that other tree's a B. Okay, here's a question. You have your avocados here planted all in the same area, and you have mangoes all over everywhere else.
Yeah.
And you have some dispersed in here. If you were a small grower in your own little yard here, considering the laurel wilt illness or beetle, would you put two avocados next to each other, or would you put something else between them?
So the big concern on laurel wilt with avocado trees that are planted near one another is root grafting, which is where the roots literally conjoin together and start to feed into one another. And with avocados, if you've got a tree with laurel wilt and it's root grafted with a neighboring avocado tree, it can spread or will spread that laurel wilt to the next door tree. But it takes a really long time for that to happen, like decades potentially. So as a homeowner, I probably wouldn't be so concerned about that. And I would probably want to plant especially two different avocado varieties, and if they're two different flower types, if you can plant them within close proximity to one another, you'll encourage cross-pollination, and that can increase your fruit set and ultimately your crop size. So if I'm growing avocados in a backyard setting, I'm probably trying to plant them relatively close to one another. Not too close, obviously, give them enough space to breathe, but that's more critical than with the mangoes, in my opinion. So.
Does pruning back the tree determine root size at all, or no? If you just let the tree grow, does the roots grow longer, or if you keep pruning it back, does it limit the roots?
It does limit it to some degree because the roots need canopy to expand. Without that canopy, you know, like when you see a growth flush off a tree, it's a sign that the roots have expanded. But if you're constantly taking away the tree's ability to feed itself, the roots are not going to expand as much as they could. So yeah, pruning them actually does limit root expansion to a certain
Which
extent.
potentially can help you if a tree nearby does get laurel wilt in the long run.
In the long run, yeah. I mean, like, yes. So, but we're talking about a pretty long period of time before that
20,
starts to happen.
25 years.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, such a long time that I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
Okay.
You know? So, you know, if you're really, really concerned about laurel wilt and you want to make sure that you don't get it, then don't grow avocados. You're taking a risk anytime you grow avocados in South Florida with the presence of laurel wilt disease of it getting it, you know, even if you don't have a neighboring tree, because the ambrosia beetles can introduce it to your tree or into your yard or whatever, and then you've got it, and they fly. So yeah, that's typically how it starts in an orchard, is that the ambrosia beetles move around and eventually find your area. Now, we've been really fortunate here. We've never had laurel wilt on any of our avocado trees. We have had dieback from nutritional issues, but when that happens, the trees will come back with time. If your tree gets laurel wilt, I don't think it usually comes back. So, and you can usually see, actually, if it wasn't from root grafting, you can see actually the damage from the ambrosia beetles feeding on the wood, or you know, burrowing into the wood. They feed on the fungi, I guess, inside it. But
all right. Well, thank you for that information. And there's the size of the Marcus pumpkin that he's hatched here. Now, on your website, do you sell these trees?
We graft avocados and sell avocados. Certain varieties, and I think Marcus Pumpkin may be one of them, you might have to request it, but we can always graft it for you. We do most of our avocado grafting in the winter, because that's when they have their best rates of take. And it's when we have time to do them too. So if you're thinking about getting a specific kind of avocado that we happen to grow, if we don't have it in stock, you can always call us or message us. And if we don't have it in stock, we can graft it for you. And this would probably be one that we would likely need to do that if you wanted to get one from us. Right. So it is propagated in the Florida nursery trade to some degree. It's not as widely produced as some of the other avocado varieties that you find here. But if you can't find it anywhere, we can make it for you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Matt, for showing us this avocado.
Thanks, Paul.
Hey, this is the Marcus Pumpkin Avocado. This is a very small one. I've had them much bigger. But this is one that Alex had given me when he was discussing the tree with me. And a beautiful color. So it's okay. I think Alex described it really well in the video. It looks really nice. It's not the best tasting avocado, but it's not the worst either. But it's not one I would desire to grow. But I just wanted to show you what it looked like. And let me show you the seed ratio there. So that's Marcus Pumpkin. Thank you very much, Alex. If you guys want to maybe try this avocado, or at least get the tree or learn more about it, or any of the avocado trees, I'm going to put Alex's link below the video. So check that out. And that's Marcus Pumpkin.